that way, or at least, it's right there. I can't see anybody back there. Okay. Everybody's standing, so I'm not going to say please stand.
Terry, can you cut the music? I don't think she can hear me.
Please welcome our inaugural procession. I am pleased to introduce our procession leader and mace bearer, Frank Daly, Chair of the Faculty Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, visiting presidents or their delegates and representatives of learned societies. Ladies and gentlemen, the faculty of the University of New England. Ladies and gentlemen, the officers of the University of New England. Ladies and gentlemen, the representatives of student government of the University of New England. Ladies and gentlemen, the former presidents of the University of New England and Westbrook College. Ladies and gentlemen, the trustees and trustees emeriti of the University of New England. Ladies and gentlemen, the Inauguration Platform Party. Ladies and gentlemen, the sixth president of the University of New England, Dr. James Herbert.
As Mace Bearer of the University of New England, I declare that we begin the inauguration of our sixth president, Dr. James Herbert. I am now pleased to announce our student trustee, Jesse Hall. He is a class of 2019 Applied Exercise Science student who hails from Waterboro, Maine, and he will now lead us in a moment of silence.
Good morning. We are gathered here to mark and celebrate this momentous occasion for the University of New England. Please join me in a moment of silence as we reflect on the importance of this day and to give thanks in our own way. Thank you.
Will you please join me in inviting the graduate of the class of 2017, Brianna Turcott, a marine sciences major from Rollinsford, New Hampshire, in the singing of America the Beautiful, as listed in your program.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Thank you, Brianna. I would now like to welcome the Chair of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, Dr. David Anderson.
Welcome, and everybody please be seated. It is my great honor to welcome you to the inauguration of Dr. James D. Herbert as the 6th President of the University of New England. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge my fellow members of the Board of Trustees, as well as former trustees who are in attendance. I would like to thank our senior senator from Maine, Miss Susan Collins. I guess Senator Collins needs no introduction. And I would like to thank two special people with us whose guidance and leadership were critical in making this institution what it is today. Former presidents of the University of New England, Daniel Rippich and Charles Ford. And I would also like to acknowledge former president of Westbrook College, Tom Cortese, and former UNE president, Sandra Featherman, who intended to join us today, but unfortunately could not make it. So thank you to the presidents and other representatives of the colleges, universities, and learned societies from around the country who have traveled here to share our joy today. A heartfelt thank you to the student leaders and the numerous student volunteers who have contributed their time and effort into making today's event a success. You see them all around you and back there. Thank you, guys. And thank you to our Alumni Association, our esteemed faculty and professional staff, our students, and our guests for your attendance at this occasion, which marks the beginning of a new chapter in UNE's story. An inaugural ceremony, indeed, represents a new beginning, but is also steeped in tradition and pays reverence to our history. The university has come a long way in the last 11 years since our last president, Danielle Rippich, was inaugurated. We hope to build on those great successes under her leadership, and I'm confident that our new president, with his boundless vision, will take us over the next great horizon. Hey. It is now my sincere privilege to introduce you to our Senator, Maine Senator Susan Collins.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome, and thank you, Dr. Anderson. President Fry, Mr. McNair, trustees, faculty, staff, students, alumni, what a pleasure it is to join you on what is truly a joyous occasion, the inauguration of James Herbert as the new president of the University of New England. I do want to point out that among the trustees here today is my first cousin, Diane Collins Field. So I feel like I have a link here. I am delighted to have the role of officially welcoming Dr. Herbert to the great state of Maine. When the appointment of Dr. Herbert was announced, he used these words to describe the UNE community: hardworking, supportive, dedicated, and caring. I met him not long afterward, and those exact same words came to my mind. President Herbert comes to UNE with a distinguished record as both a scientist and as an academic leader. From strategic planning to cutting-edge research in the cognitive and brain sciences, and from community outreach to international partnerships, his accomplishments are remarkable. It is particularly impressive that under his leadership, Drexel University's Ph.D. program in clinical psychology achieved a ranking of 7th out of more than 350 programs nationwide. I commend Gloria Pinza and the search committee for making such an inspired choice. And I am delighted to be here today with two outstanding leaders, former Presidents Danielle Rippich and Charles Ford, who have helped to make UNE the only school that could have lured Dr. Herbert away from his beloved Drexel University. So we thank you, President Fry, for sharing this day and this dedicated leader with us. The University of New England has a fascinating history. It is the result of a merger between Westbrook College, which was founded by the Universalist Church, and St. Francis College, which was founded by the Catholic Church. Now, it may be a coincidence that I am here today, but I think not, because my father was a Universalist and my mother is a Catholic. So, So you could say that I am the result of a similar merger. The foundation of UNE is the core values of those two schools: science, the humanities, personal and professional ethics, and service to others. And on that foundation stands an institution of national renown with an innovative spirit and a commitment to making a quality education accessible to motivated students of all backgrounds. For the third year in a row, UNE has been recognized by Princeton Review as one of the best schools in the nation. The high rankings awarded to UNE by such other publications as U.S. News and World Report and Forbes are well-deserved and a source of pride. Even more significant, perhaps, is the fact that the UNE College of Medicine is among the top 10% of medical schools in the nation where graduates obtain the residency of their choice. That is a remarkable achievement, a resounding vote of confidence. As home to Maine's only medical and dental schools, UNE plays a vital role in our state's future, helping to keep our best and brightest students here and to attract high-achieving students from elsewhere who come to Maine to study and in many cases to stay. There's an old saying in medical education circles that doctors tend to practice within 100 miles of where they train. Over the years, UNE graduates have proven that saying true and thankfully have extended that 100-mile radius to the beautiful rural and underserved parts of our state. From the College of Dental Medicine to Alzheimer's disease research to graduate medical education programs, I've been proud to work with UNE to support that mission. And I do so knowing that whenever I advocate for federal funding for programs at this school, I do so fully confident that the American people will see a beneficial return on their investment. Now, let me touch briefly on an issue of concern to this school, its faculty, students, and graduates, and that is the problem, the challenge of providing affordable access to quality health care for all Americans. We in Washington still have a lot of work to do on this critical issue, and we need to get it right. Getting it right requires starting it right with a commitment to open negotiations and thoughtful fact-based discussion and a willingness, a determination to reach common ground. Above all, healthcare legislation must not violate the central tenet of the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. We must no longer allow excessive partisanship to be a pre-existing condition that prevents healthcare reform. And that is where all of you come in. The students here are learning to be not only medical practitioners and researchers, but also leaders. And when they leave here, they will be experts in their fields as well as engaged, informed citizens who will help guide one of the most crucial aspects of public policy. All of the students, no matter what they study here, learn about the importance of civic engagement, and that is so important to our state's and our country's future. At that introductory press conference in February, President Herbert put it this way: if we work together and remain focused on the future, we are well positioned to confront any challenge ahead. I wish him all the best in the great challenge he has accepted, and I look forward to the University of New England's continued contributions to meeting the challenges facing our state and our nation. Congratulations, Dr. Herbert. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Collins, for your kind sentiments. I would now like to introduce Alastair Saunders, Senior Vice Provost for Research at Drexel University, who is speaking on behalf of the delegates from learned societies who have gathered here today. Dr. Saunders.
Senator Collins, UNE students, staff, faculty, and trustees, my fellow academic delegates, and honored guests. I'm delighted to be here representing my esteemed colleagues from other institutions of higher learning. I'm especially delighted to be speaking as a friend and close former colleague of James Herbert. In both of these capacities, I have the honor to offer my heartfelt congratulations to the UNE community on this very special day. President James Herbert, hearty congratulations on your inauguration as UNE's 6th president. As many of you know, James joins UNE from 24 years at Drexel University. What you may not know, though, is all the many hats that James wore while he was at Drexel. He was a full professor in our psychology department. He was chair of the Faculty Senate, director of the psychology graduate program, as was mentioned, was one of the top in the nation, associate dean for research and graduate studies in the College of Arts and Sciences, interim biology department head. That's a long story, but a pleasant one for me. That's how I got to know James. Psychology department head, founding dean of the graduate school, executive vice provost, and interim provost. So that's a long list. So he's doing all those jobs, and all the while he's teaching, mentoring students, and producing impactful scholarly work. As you can imagine, that sort of those skills and those leadership qualities were evident early in James's career at Drexel. And as he stayed, his responsibilities grew. To each of these roles, he brings an incredible work ethic. You've probably seen that already. Enthusiasm, boundless enthusiasm, a razor-sharp intellect, humor, kindness, and a radiant smile. Just as important, he has the love and support of his wonderful family, especially his wife, Lynn, who will be much missed by our community, but we're sure will be an invaluable addition to your community. So, UNE, you've gained a scholar and a leader. But if I mention James to my 3 children, they don't think of his degrees, his administrative chops, or his scholarly accomplishments. They think of the karate guy. And that's because 8 years ago, when I first started working with James, he had the biology department over for a Christmas dinner. And we went down to the basement where James showed off his toys. He showed us this morning in his garage those same toys. But in this particular case, there was a board, and James had a leg. And that board met its end with James' leg in karate fashion. My children and we were very impressed. And so to this day, our kids refer to James as the karate guy. But if you go around wherever James is or has been, there are others that think of James as the guitar guy or the runner guy. And perhaps now that he's in beautiful Maine, he'll be known as the kayak guy or the kayak president, maybe. James, or President Herbert, is many things to many different people, but whatever he does, he excels at. This is one of the things that makes him so special. Having worked side by side, day in, day out with James for the greater part of the last decade, I can truly say that my own life has been richer for his company, friendship, and mentorship. UNE, you have chosen well. President Herbert and UNE, congratulations on this new chapter. I know it will be a bright one.
Thank you, Vice Provost Saunders, and all the delegates present, for joining us at this celebratory occasion and for all of your words of support. For those who don't know me, I am Frank Daly, Associate Professor of Biomedical Sciences in the College of Osteopathic Medicine. I'm also Chair of the Faculty Assembly. On behalf of all the faculty members, I would like to extend the warmest of welcomes to our President Herbert. From the day that he was announced as the incoming University of New England president, James stirred an excitement among the faculty that has been truly palpable. I cannot express enough how much we are all looking forward to his leadership with a sense of optimism and enthusiasm for what we can all accomplish together. One thing that I would like President Herbert to know is that about our faculty is that we are very committed to this university. It is our home. President Herbert, we embrace the collaboration that we're going to be engaging in together, and we will not be hesitant to roll up our sleeves to get to work with you. There's great interest in helping to develop UNE's strategic plan and to fully participate in shared governance. We trust that your presidency here at the University of New England will be one that celebrates open and ongoing dialogue with the faculty and one that upholds the value of open communication. I hope that the steps we take together will bring us where we all hope to be in the future and far, far beyond. Now, I am privileged to introduce student trustee Caroline Moore Watts, a class of 2019 student in the College of Dental Medicine from Roswell, Georgia. Caroline is here today to speak on behalf of the student body.
Thank you, Dr. Daly. Speaking on behalf of the entire student community at the University of New England, including graduate and undergraduate students, traditional and non-traditional, Maine and Morocco, commuter and resident students, on-campus and online students, I welcome you, Dr. James Herbert, to the University of New England. President Herbert, it is noteworthy that on July 3rd, your very first day on the job at the university, you made it a point to meet with student groups on both the Biddeford and the Portland campuses. The message you sent by doing so was very clear, that you are committed to being involved with UNE students and to listening to our ideas and to our perspectives. Please know that the student body is so excited to embark upon this journey with you and that we are looking forward to your leadership. We are eager to enter a new era at UNE with your guidance. You have our full support in accomplishing the mission of this university, and we will do our part through student governance organizations and other means to contribute to UNE's success. UNE students wish to not only welcome you, but to welcome your entire family, your wife, Lynn Brandsma, and your 4 children, Joel, Aaron, Elliot, and Sylvia, who are now also part of the UNE family. And at this time, I'd like to invite Olivia Herbert to the podium.
Hello. I can't look at my grandma or I'll start crying. When I was in 8th grade, my family moved to a new house on St. Paul's Avenue, and my dad had big plans for this house. During the weekdays, he would work hard at his job as Drexel University as a psychology professor. But on the weeknights, he'd gather the kids and we'd go over and start scrubbing and painting and assembling furniture, all while talking about school and work and life. And these were great nights, but the reason why we did them on the weeknights was because on the weekend, he had his eyes set on something far more important, the yard. My dad had a vision for this yard, and it was a multi-stage process. So first came the research phase, where he determined the rainfall patterns and where the water would collect. There was how much sun different parts of the yard got versus shade and what the soil type was. Then came the planning phase. So this involved figuring out what plants would go best next to each other and were complementary, how far apart they should be spaced, what the best curve would be for a flower bed to be pleasing to the eye. And throughout all of this, I would take my studious scribe notes and form this blueprint. And we then took this blueprint, went to the nursery, picked out the plants, and finally planted them all. And I'll be honest, at the end of it, I was pretty disappointed. I mean, my dad had conjured up this vision in my mind of what I would see, and when I looked back out the yard, I just saw some scrubby little plants that were kind of spaced apart really far. No flowers, hardly any leaves, and I mostly just dirt, and I complained to him, and he said, "Sylvia, just be patient." From then on, pretty much every single weekend was out there in the yard, and no children were exempt. All my brothers would be out there. You'd see Joel as a 3-year-old toddling along with his Fisher-Price wheelbarrow, going up to my brother Elliot, who would be instructing our autistic brother Aaron on the proper form for loading leaves into the wheelbarrow or shoveling mulch. And we did this every weekend, every week, every month, every year. And I think that we worked harder than most of the neighborhood kids, but none of us really thought to complain. I mean, my dad was having so much fun that it was easy to forget that he was making us do chores. And besides, even if we did think to complain, it would have been pretty silly because however hard we were working, we knew that Dad was putting in more hours, sweating harder, and having a blast while doing it. When we woke up in the morning, he'd be out there already. And then when we came in at night and called him for dinner, he would say, "Okay, I'll be right there." And then he'd put on his headlamp, get out his blower, and then late into the night be blowing every last leaf off of the lawn. And on the off chance that we somehow managed to accomplish all of the tasks and he couldn't think of anything else for our yard, well, then we'd move on to the elderly neighbor's yard next door. And from then on, it seemed the whole neighborhood. We would be shoveling snow off the sidewalks or clearing the leaves of the streets of leaves. And so there was always plenty to do. Now, despite all of this work, or maybe because of it, those days hold some of my fondest memories. I loved working together as a family towards a common cause. I loved the little breaks that we would take to see who could jump rope the fastest, or for Dad to start blasting Eminem on the boombox and try to rap along to Slim Shady. Something he still does to this day. But most of all, we loved seeing him the next day as he looked out over the yard with this mixture of excitement and pride on all the work that we had accomplished. Now, today, the house is redone and the yard, in particular, is gorgeous. The flower beds have filled out and they're just as beautiful as he promised me. We've added more. We have a patio built, a fountain, a tree swing, compost bins, and more. But more importantly, on the way to building all of this, he built in a work ethic into his kids that have helped us in all of our various endeavors in life. Now, this is just one example of the types of things that my father did to ensure that we were good people. And I don't have a lot of time to go over all the different ones, but I'd like to just touch on a few more. First, he made us polite. When I was a little kid, I was very shy, and I would hide behind his legs anytime I had to be introduced to adults. He noticed this, and so he would make me practice introducing myself with him in various situations, and then test me on his colleagues and his students. This training helped me overcome a natural tendency towards introversion that has helped me in countless situations, including ones like these. Next, he made us articulate. I realized in middle school that my little brothers were going to bed at the same time that I was. Do you hear that? They were going to bed. I, the older sister, was going to bed at the same time as my little brothers. This was totally unacceptable. And so I went to my parents and started complaining, and they told me, Sylvia, if you want us to take you seriously, you need to go and prepare a formal argument for why you should be able to stay up. And so I did. I worked hard, and after much debating, I managed to get a full 20 minutes of extra time past when my little brothers went to sleep. And I know that that's kind of a silly example, but I still use these skills to this day. He made us rational. One of my dad's favorite quotes growing up was, "Keep your mind open, but not so open that your brains fall out." He taught us how logic works and the value of skepticism. He taught us to think for ourselves rather than succumbing to peer pressures or societal norms. And this has helped us so much as we've gone on into the world. He made us compassionate. He emphasized the importance of getting to know and care about all of the people around you. Whenever we went into work, we were astonished that he knew everybody, from the custodians to the cafeteria workers, all the way up to the deans. And everywhere we went, he would be stopping to ask someone how their daughter's graduation went, or where they were planning on going on vacation next. And this virtue of respecting and caring about everyone around you, regardless of where they stand on the university hierarchy, was one of the things I admired most about him. Finally, and this is the last one that I'll touch on for right now, he made us fun. I don't know if you all have seen the video of him trying to hula hoop that UNE put together. I can tell there are a few out here. If you have, you know that it is impossible to make him embarrassed. And so whether it was, waiting outside to be seated at a restaurant and seeing who could jump over the highest railing, or bringing home a new boyfriend and having them be introduced to him by him practicing his karate moves on them, he taught us the importance of, first, not being embarrassed too easily, second, not taking ourselves too seriously, and finally, just to have fun in life. Now, after 29 years of raising kids and 13 years of yard work, my family is selling that house on St. Paul's Avenue, and my dad's attention is turning towards UNE. Yeah. I am so excited for you to see him at work the way that I have. He will plan carefully and consult with those around him. He'll then plant your collective ideas and work with this intense dedication towards his cause. And you may find yourself working hard right alongside him, but you probably won't even realize it because you're having so much fun. Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce two people who are very important to me and very talented. The first is my little brother, Joel Herbert, and also my mom, Lynn Brandsma.
When James asked us to perform, I really didn't even need to ask him what song it was that he wanted. This song by Dan Fogelberg has long been one of his favorites, and I think you'll understand why he thought it appropriate for this special occasion in this beautiful state of Maine. It's autumn, the birches have just begun turning. It's life and it's dying, the lobstermen's boats come returning, with the catch of the day in their holds, and the young boys cold and complaining. Fog meets the beaches, and out on the reach it is raining. It's daughter and son, it's the way it's been done since the old days. It's hauling by hand 10 miles out from the land where their chair waits. All the days get so lonely and long, and the seas grow so stormy and strong, but the screech will sing welcome as homeward they hurry along. And the morning will blow away as the waves crash and fall, and the reach like a siren sings as she beckons and calls. As the coastline recedes from view and the seas swell and roll, I will take from the reach all that she has to teach to the depths of my soul. The wind brings a chill, there's a frost on the sill in the morning. It creeps through the door at the edge of the shore, ice is forming. Soon the northers will bluster and blow, and the woods will be whitened with snowfall, and the reach will lie frozen for the lost and unchosen to roll. And the morning will blow away as the waves crash and fall, and the reach like a siren sings as she beckons and calls. As the coastline recedes from view and the seas swell and roll, I will take from the reach all that she has to teach to the depths of my soul. I will take from the reach all that she has to teach to the depths of my soul. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of the members of our community for your heartfelt greetings, your good wishes, and it is now my honor and my privilege to introduce to you someone who has enriched academia, people in the state of Maine, as well as nationally and internationally. This individual is a recipient of a Guggenheim, a Fulbright, and 2 Rockefeller Fellowships, as well as a United States Artist Fellowship and numerous prizes in poetry. Ladies and gentlemen, Maine's Poet Laureate Emeritus and Honorary Doctor of Letters, Wesley McNair.
As we all know, the best universities are led by a special kind of vision, a capacity to see not only what's there, but the possibility in what's there. The University of New England has a tradition of that sort of vision, and today, James Herbert becomes a part of it. To honor him and his future at UNE on this auspicious occasion, I want to read 2 short poems I've written about vision and how it can transform the world we thought we knew. The first poem is called Benediction, and it's about the fall, this season we're about to enter here in Maine, which may not always have the drama of springtime, you know, all that greenness and portentousness. And yet, if we really see the world of the fall, we'll also understand that it has its own possibility and even glory. Benediction. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow beyond their flowering, no longer beautiful to our eyes. Consider the brittle-petaled black centers of the black-eyed Susans waving like pom-poms in the cold wind. There's a joy in it, the joy of everything that dances around it. The milkweeds dangling their old goosebumpy pods. The Queen Anne's lace lifting the lacy purses they have woven from their blossoms. How could we have overlooked the beauty of the tiny bristled stars they now carry? Or the hope among the brown clovers of the late bloomers already living the dream of their return. Consider the dream of the bloomers and of the wind-torn blackberry bushes holding out their stick fingers that the birds have picked clean. Consider the frosted heads of the goldenrods bending down to the ground, and the milkweeds standing straight up, giving themselves away. Sometimes it's important to break free entirely from the settled way of doing things in order to see as you need to see. My second poem is about the experience of driving by yourself way past town, straight into the wilds of a New England dark with only your headlights to guide you. It's a brief poem titled Driving to Dark Country. Past where the last gang of signs comes out of the dark to wave you back, and past telephone wires lengthening with the light of someone beyond the next hill just returning. A slow single line will take the eye of your high beam. Around you will be jewels of the fox watch. Great trees will rise up to see you passing by, all by yourself, riding on light. So James, we wish you Godspeed in your own journey. May you also ride on light.
Thank you, Mr. McNair, for those inspiring words. and for your keen interest in oysters. Sorry, inside joke, right? It is now my pleasure to bring you to the podium someone who can attest firsthand to the wisdom, leadership, and accomplishments of our new president. The individual who headed Drexel University during James Herbert's tenure, there as a vice provost and dean of the Graduate College at Drexel, the president of that fine institution, President John Fry of Drexel.
I am so honored to be here today. It's such a privilege to be part of this inauguration ceremony with the University of New England community. Thank you for the invitation to address you, and especially for the warm welcome you have given me to this wonderful institution. President Danielle Rippich has built an enormous legacy of accomplishment and spirit during her 11 years as president. She has been called a bold and visionary leader, and everywhere I look around the University of New England, I see proof of that kind of rare leadership. Congratulations, President Rippich, on your prodigious accomplishments and for putting UNE in a strong and enviable position as it faces a future full of opportunities and challenges. She is clearly a tough act to follow, but I'm here today to tell you, don't worry. You are in the very best of hands. I say that with the full and joyful benefit of many years working with James Herbert, who became as much of a dear friend to me as he was a valued and trusted and go-to member of our senior leadership team at Drexel University. I first met James when he served as a member of the search committee when I was being considered for the position of president of Drexel. And I could tell from our very first encounter that he was something very special. Great intellect, boundless curiosity and energy, a personal warmth that draws you in and puts you at ease. In other words, the real thing. I soon learned that James was a legitimate triple threat: a gifted and beloved teacher and devoted mentor, a prolific scholar with more than 170 papers, book chapters, and a book to his credit. And at that time, as chair of psychology, a skilled administrator who brought collegiality to problem solving and decision making, especially in difficult and delicate situations. So you won't be surprised that as the new president of Drexel, I made it a habit to cultivate our relationship because I trusted James and I cherished his insights. Several times a year, I would ask James to sit with me to talk about things that were on my mind, which, given the often solitary nature of this job, is a rare indulgence. When our provost announced his retirement, I reached out to James to ask him to take over in the interim because I considered him, hands down, the best emerging leader at Drexel. James was utterly shocked and didn't accept right away until he could wrestle with his doubts and make his own conclusion as to whether or not he was up to the task. And it was then that I saw another aspect of James, his utter humility, which I regard as an essential trait of great leaders. His work as interim provost was a tour de force of strong and determined and empathetic leadership. And soon, other traits became apparent to me. What a quick study he was, a deep listener, a crisp decision maker. He didn't waste time. He was very economical, tough but fair, and always with his characteristic good humor, optimism, and relentless energy. Following his brilliant tour as interim provost, I then turned to James to serve in two key roles. As executive vice provost, he distinguished himself in advising me in many areas, including academic program and physical planning, and strategic partnerships. But it was as the founding dean of our graduate college that James built his enduring legacy at Drexel. He heightened our emphasis on the critical role that graduate education plays at the master's, doctoral, and postdoctoral levels. And he set us firmly on the path towards securing Drexel's place as a serious, comprehensive research university. Under his inspired leadership, Drexel added 5 new graduate minors with 40 more in the pipeline. Graduate co-op programs were launched in a number of our schools and centers, and this year we are up dramatically in deposits for master's and professional doctorates. On behalf of the more than 9,000 graduate students studying in 230 programs across 15 colleges and schools at Drexel University, James, I thank you. James has 2 great loves in his life, the first and most important being his family. His amazing wife, Lynn, whip-smart, fun, direct, sensitive, a true better half. His extraordinary children, Aaron, Sylvia, Elliot, and Joel. And his wonderful mom, Gracie, who gave James the great gift of a college education, the first one to achieve this in his family. And then there is his second great love, food. I feel very secure in saying that the only thing that is more boundless than James's intellectual curiosity is his appetite, which is astounding. On campus, our campus is full of stories of James's legendary ability to pack it in. And all I can say is that there are 2 things you can certainly look forward to when you share a meal with James, other than his witty repartee. He will always finish his meal first, and you will soon find his eyes on your plate. James himself confessed to me how he eyed the unfinished lobster mac and cheese in the bowl of none other than President Rippich. As they shared a meal during the search process, but somehow managed to restrain himself from reaching over and raiding her bowl because he thought it might cost him this job, which only goes to show you how much he must love UNE. What a painful struggle that must have been for James. In many ways, the presidency of UNE is such a perfect fit for someone who is so steeped in years of experience at Drexel University. Our 2 universities are, in fact, kindred institutions. Rather than rely on hype or trend, we both point to accomplishment. We have similarly high percentages of our graduates in jobs or enrolled in graduate and professional programs within a short time of getting their degrees. We both outpace most of our peer institutions in boosting the lifetime earnings of our alumni, and we're both experiential and entrepreneurial. Building a campus in Morocco was amazing enough, but when UNE realized that students having a great international experience didn't want to fall behind on their research, you also provided state-of-the-art labs on the Morocco campus so they can keep their research up while they were abroad. In common with all colleges and universities, UNE and Drexel also face many of the same challenges. The escalating competition and price sensitivity within higher education. The need to keep thinking globally at a time when many in this country are looking inward. The struggle to preserve campus and classroom as places for vigorous debate, while also ensuring that all points of view are welcome. And the future of intercollegiate athletics at a time when its moral compass is threatened. Looking at what UNE has accomplished, I am confident that this university is well positioned to face any challenge in the coming decade. And I am even more assured that, as your new president, James is well equipped to guide UNE. In fact, I believe he has the gift of a first-class temperament, which in my mind is the single most important characteristic that a university president can possess. Let me close by confiding that I find it so gratifying to have been proven right about James's leadership potential, and I am deeply honored that he has described me as a mentor. Some might view James's departure from Drexel as bittersweet, but I find it all sweet, the way it should be when someone gives his heart and soul to a place for decades and then is recognized for his talents and given the privilege of leading another great university. Thank you for allowing me to witness this momentous occasion and to share in your excitement. I wish the University of New England community all the very best as you and President Herbert move forward together into an exciting future. And to James, go to it, brother.
Thank you, President Fry. We are so pleased that you are able to be with us for this special occasion in the life of our institution and in this very meaningful day for James. And we also are thankful for the warning when you go to the reception, and if you see James with that, "Are you going to eat that?" look at his eye as he's looking at your plate, just offer it up. You know. Today is a significant day marking the inauguration of the 6th president of the University of New England, Dr. James Herbert, as he assumes his place in a succession of distinguished UNE presidents. We look forward to working with him to implement his vision for the university. I know I speak for the trustee, Gloria Pinza, and other members of the Presidential Search Committee, the Board of Trustees, and the entire university community when I say how confident I am that James will meet the challenges ahead. And he will help us keep this institution at the forefront of educational innovation and continue to increase its growing role in the community. Today we recognize the university's enduring strengths, its foundation and tradition, its entrepreneurial spirit and willingness to take risks in continuing its role as an educational leader, and its mission to avail the students of the opportunities for growth both in the classroom and in the real world. We look forward to building upon those strengths under the guidance of James Herbert, whose years at Drexel University aptly illustrate his ability to lead us forward. This day is about celebration. We are pleased to officially welcome to the University of New England a president whose purpose, vision, and commitment will build upon the ideals that have made UNE what it is today and will transform it into an institution of even grander stature in the years ahead. Now comes the fun part, at least for two of us here. The presentation of the Presidential Regalia is symbolic of the passing on of the leadership and authority of the office of the President of the University. Dr. Herbert, will you please come forward? James D. Herbert, the Board of Trustees has chosen you to be the 6th President of the University of New England. You inherit a university with a rich history and full of promise. Though you have actively been involved fulfilling your role since your arrival on July 3rd, today you symbolically accept the responsibilities of your office. I was chosen for this job because I was tall enough. Now have the privilege and responsibility to lead the university to the fulfillment of its great promise, to be an international entrepreneurial leader in educating today's students, to become skilled practitioners, effective professionals, and global citizens in the 21st century. So now, by the virtue of authority of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, I present to you the Presidential Medallion. The symbol of the high office you hold. The medallion's chain includes the inscription of the names of the university's previous presidents, and the medallion itself is designed after the official seal of the university. Seal is composed of 4 quadrants representing different facets of the university. The motto, Lucens Ardens, translates to enlighten the mind and develop noble ideals. On behalf of the trustees, faculty, professional staff, students, alumni, and friends of this distinguished institution, I formally welcome you as the 6th President of the University of New England. We have full confidence in you and will support your leadership in the fulfillment of our common vision. It is now my great pleasure to introduce you to our new president, if you haven't met him already, Dr. James D. Herbert.
Thank you. Please sit down. Thank you so much. Chair Anderson, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And to everyone that's preceded me on the stage this morning, I want to extend my deepest heartfelt appreciation. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all for contributing to today's festivities. This is truly a momentous occasion in the life of the University of New England, and the fact that so many of you have shared of your generosity, your talents, your wisdom makes the day all the more special, so thank you. This is truly a moment that belongs to all of us. While we've gathered to celebrate my inauguration as your new president, I submit that today's festivities are about something greater than that. This is a celebration of us all. This is an occasion for you to give pause, to look around, and to reflect on the special role that you play, that each of you play, in our thoughtful, compassionate, committed community of women and men. Some of you have been building this community, this amazing university, this ship, if I may use the metaphor, for decades. Others among you, including our wonderful students who are here today, have only recently devoted your talents and passions to UNE's cause. But each of you has chosen to devote yourself, your expertise, your hard-earned talent, your precious time, your energy to furthering our mission. So this really is a day for all of us, no matter how long we've been affiliated with UNE. This is a day for us to reflect with pride and satisfaction for all that UNE has accomplished. This is a day for us to reflect on the special role that UNE plays in students' lives and in the lives of the various communities with which it is a part. It's also a day for us to recognize the value of the special role that our students play in the lives of our faculty, professional staff, and the broader community. And this is a day for us to stand on the sunny lawn and gaze alongside our fellow Nor'easters with humble awe and boundless optimism at the bright blue horizon that lies beyond the shores of our wildest imaginations. This is a day for us to wonder just how much further we can take UNE, to wonder just how much more UNE and each of us can become during the next phase of the university's evolution. As we stand and sit here together, shoulder to shoulder, as women and men drawn together from various disciplines and walks of life by a shared commitment to UNE's values, to the values that we hold dear, and the mission that we embrace, as we assemble today, I believe we can accomplish anything that we put our collective minds to. And I truly believe that you think so too. To each of you, I say thank you for accepting this responsibility that we shoulder together. Thank you for accepting this call we heed. Thank you for not shying away from the challenges that we face. Thank you for the role that you personally play in the pursuit of our mission. You are trustees, faculty, professional staff, administrators, undergraduate students, graduate students, parents, friends, neighbors, alumni of UNE, and alumni of St. Francis College and Westbrook College. I want to also recognize those of you watching this ceremony remotely or who will later watch it via streaming. We feel your presence with us now. You have built this ship together. You continue to build it with each day you spend in the classroom, the office, with each time you venture into the field, into the lab, or into the clinic. And in a few minutes, I'll talk more about this ship that you've built and set up on the water. But first, I'd like to just recognize a few of those joining us today. First, let me acknowledge the love of my life, Len Brandsma. Len? Len, you have been my partner in each step of our collective journey that has led to this day, and I would not be standing here without your unwavering love and support. Thank you. I know this job is really a joint effort in so many ways, and I love seeing how excited you've become in embracing your own special role here at UNE, and especially in your interactions with the students. And we'll wait later to tell the story about the ukulele club, but I look forward to our continuing journey together and to seeing all that you will do in your part of the Nor'easter family. So thank you for your love and your support and your partnership. I'd also like to thank the other members of my immediate family. Aaron, our oldest son, who, as you know, is autistic, is not able to be with us here today, but I know he's here in spirit. Sylvia, thank you so much for traveling here with your partner Nick from California and to celebrate with us, and thank you so much for those words on behalf of the family. It really was just unbelievably touching. And Elliot and my mom Gracie, thank you so much for traveling all the way from Texas to be with us today as well. And Joel, beautiful guitar playing, and thank you also for joining us, and for skipping school Friday, but you will finish your homework today. Okay, no excuses. So you will finish your homework. We'll see to that. Okay. I'd also like to give a shout out to Len's folks, Glenn and Jerry Brandsma, who weren't able to be with us today but are watching from Northwest Iowa and who have been tremendously supportive to me for many, many years. To my family, all of my family, you mean the world to me. I'm mindful of the sacrifices that you all have made so that I may stand here today, and I really appreciate it. I love you all with all my heart. I'd also like to acknowledge, and I'm very grateful for the presence today of my close friends and colleagues, including John Fry, the president of Drexel University, who's traveled here to celebrate, as well as many other friends from Philadelphia and beyond who are with us today. Thank you all. I'm also honored to welcome so many members of the UNE family who are with us today, including former Presidents Ford and Danielle Rippich, the current and former members of our Board of Trustees, the member of the Presidential Search Committee and the Presidential Transition Committee, our deans and senior leaders, the delegates from many other universities, the political, civic, and business leaders from the great state of Maine, including my new friend, Senator Susan Collins. I also welcome our alumni, friends of the university, neighbors, members of our distinguished faculty, members of our professional staff, and most importantly, our students. It's included in our family are the many benefactors present today who have supported UNA with their philanthropy. As you look around the campus today, you can see how it's been directly impacted by their generous support. So please join me in a round of applause for all of our distinguished guests. And finally, I just want to make it clear to say that in the end, ultimately, students, it's for you that we are all here. So thank you for being here. Build me straight, O worthy master, staunch and strong, a goodly vessel that shall laugh at all disaster and with wave and whirlwind wrestle. So begins Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's The Building of the Ship. It so happens that as I've been learning more about UNE over the past year or so, I've been rereading some of the works of this great Portland-born poet who wrote so lyrically of his home state and its marriage with the sea. As I've immersed myself into UNE's history and culture, I've come to understand more fully the metaphor that President Rippich extended when she implored you to sail for the deep waters only. You have been building the ship, this vessel that can take and indeed has taken you across some trying waters to those places where your talents and passion can make the greatest impact in the world. In the building of the ship, the poet tells the story of a graying shipbuilder and his young apprentice. They devote themselves to the ship's construction, raising planks milled from tall pines from Maine and cedars, but also from planks of chestnut, elm, and oaks brought to Maine from distant shores. As Longfellow writes, "What a wondrous thing it is to note how many wheels of toil, one thought, one word can set in motion. There's not a ship that sails the ocean, but every climate, every soil must bring its tribute, great or small, and help to build the wooden wall." Although literary critics agree that Longfellow was alluding to the creation of America's ship of state, its union of North and South, when he wrote these lines, this coming together for the purpose of pursuing some greater good reminded me of our own community. We are rooted in Maine, but the paths that have brought us here lead back to every U.S. state and to many foreign countries. Whether we play the part of student, faculty member, or member of the professional staff, or any other role at UNE, our paths have converged and become one. Each of us has joined a larger whole on this beautiful bluff where the Saco River meets the Atlantic Ocean, or on our stately campus in Portland, or at the cultural crossroads in North Africa. And what we do with our individual talents when they merge is akin to what the finished ship will do. The ship ventures back into the ocean, back into the waters across which so much of its timbers came, and it experiences so much more than any one piece of wood adrift on a vast ocean could ever experience alone. As Longfellow tells the story of the building of the ship, he also tells the story of the master builder and his apprentice, the young man already marked to one day become his son-in-law. On the day the ship is completed, the young man has been promised that he may take the hand of the shipbuilder's daughter. When the ship is united with the sea, the young man will be united at last with the young woman he loves and who so deeply loves him. Longfellow writes of the fiery youth, "Ah, how skillful grows the hand that obeyeth love's command. It is the heart and not the brain that to the highest doth attain. And he who followeth love's behest far excelleth all the rest." Since the very beginning of the process that has led to this moment, in which I'm standing before you, addressing you as your new president, this idea of love's incredible power as a motivator has struck me, because I've seen it at play here at UNE. Whether I was talking with members of the Presidential Search Committee or learning about the university from senior leaders, trustees, faculty members, students, alumni, members of the professional staff, the love that so many of you express for this special community through your words and your actions have truly overwhelmed me. I understand that I am not just assuming the mantle of any university, but of a very special university. I've committed myself to lead not just any university, but your university, our university. A university that is so central to the lives of many people here in Maine and on distant shores, people whose lives are touched by the vital role that UNE plays in the world. I said earlier that I believe we could accomplish anything to which we devoted ourselves fully. And so what makes me so sure of this? Well, it's the love that each of you have revealed for your love, your lab, your students, your university. This is what convinces me. The recent evidence of all that you have accomplished during the tenure of my predecessor, Danielle Rippich, serves as a pretty convincing testimonial to just how formidable UNE has become, to just how formidable all of you have made it. Every UNE president before me has left her or his mark on the institution, just as the presidents of our forebearer institutions in Biddeford and Portland did. For example, UNE's first president, Jack Ketchum, oversaw the merger of St. Francis College with the New England College of Osteopathic Medicine to lay the foundation of the UNE that we know today. President Charles Ford subsequently solidified the new university and stabilized its finances while building meaningful and enduring bridges to the local community. President Thomas Hedley Reynolds expanded academic offerings and oversaw the construction of the Harold Alphonse Center for Health Sciences for our health sciences programs and the College of Osteopathic Medicine, where we stand today. President Sandra Featherman oversaw the merger of UNE with Westbrook College, creating the then College of Health Professions, which now is the Westbrook College of Health Professions on our Portland campus. And most recently, President Danielle Rippich led UNE through a period of truly transformational development. I am so grateful for all of the pioneering leaders that have done to build the great institution that UNE is today. And Danielle, Charles, I'm so happy that you were able to be with us today. Thank you for all you've done to shape UNE's legacy. And I must add that I am especially grateful to Danielle for her guidance and friendship during the transition over the past several months. Danielle stood before you, as I do today, back in 2006. She was brimming with optimism about where UNE could go. Shortly after her inauguration, the storm clouds of the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression began to swirl in the sky. What followed was a challenging time for institutions of higher education, but Danielle, her leadership team, and many of you gathered here today who work beside them refused to blink. With steady hands and unflinching resolve, you focused your efforts and you kept UNE on the path that transformed it from a small regional institution into a thriving, modern, global university. And step by step, UNE became just that, a thriving, world-class university. As many other colleges and universities tried simply to ride out the Great Recession, many of you in attendance today set yourselves to building the ship. You created new academic buildings, residence halls and athletic facilities, new colleges, a campus in Morocco, new centers of excellence, new academic programs, and much, much more. In so doing, you fashioned an identity for UNE. You built a national and even international reputation for it. You connected its long-standing expertise in educating students for the health professions with an emphasis in the liberal arts. You designed innovative online programs that enroll students from around the globe. You invested in the humanities and devoted yourself to bolstering UNE's programs in marine sciences, environmental sciences, social sciences, education, business, and other essential fields. Many of you here today worked long hours and made many sacrifices, I know, and the results speak for themselves. UNE's enrollment stands at more than 12,000 students. Our economic impact on the state of Maine exceeds $1 billion a year. Our 6 colleges supply the Maine workforce with steady streams of professionals in high-demand fields, professionals who enter their jobs with demonstrable skills, cultural fluency, global awareness, and a solid foundation in the liberal arts. Our centers of excellence combine the talents of faculty members and students from across disciplines to make important advancements in burgeoning fields. Our academic programs offer more opportunities than ever for students to learn and grow. Our investigators make groundbreaking discoveries and engage in high-impact scholarship. Our faculty and students enjoy important relationships with industry, relationships that position students for success during both their time with us and also after they graduate. UNE today has a strong balance sheet, a global presence, and a robust student body. You have built an incredible ship. It will now be my honor to devote the whole of my being to guiding it, to guiding the ship with this amazing crew as we move forward to places where we may best realize our mission. At UNE, we express our mission succinctly with 5 simple words: innovation for a healthier planet. What does it mean to be innovative? UNE demonstrates to Maine and indeed to the wider world what it means. In our teaching, our scholarship, and our service to communities, we have been inventive, pioneering, and bold. To experiment with pedagogies that cut across traditional disciplinary boundaries, to engage in research that challenges long-standing assumptions in our fields, to use technologies in ways that were not yet widely applied, we must possess a certain degree of courage. We must accept the inevitable pitfalls along the way that are endemic to the creative process. We must be self-reflective and open to criticism, but unbowed when the naysayers, the upholders of tradition for tradition's sake, insist that we should just do it, teach it, or see it the way it's always been. We must be persistent, dogged, resolute. We must be brave, and UNE has shown itself to be all of these things. We innovate not for innovation's sake, of course. We do not fetishize innovation at the price of neglecting the hard work of maintaining the proven fruits of our prior work. Rather, we innovate strategically. We don't try to be all things to all people, but strategically, we devote ourselves to devising new approaches to challenges in areas where our strengths and resources align with the world's needs. We innovate in pursuit of a healthier planet. The health of individuals is our concern, as well as the health of communities and the environments in which they exist. We view the well-being of the one as inextricably linked with the well-being of the many, and linked to the health of the environment, its air, its water, its diverse ecosystems. We also acknowledge the vital role that the arts, humanities, and social sciences have in promoting health and well-being. These diverse fields contribute in countless ways to enriching our quality of life and promoting human welfare. Rather than focusing our efforts only at the local level, merely endeavoring to address the effects of rising sea levels or of an aging population as they pertain to Maine, we make the whole planet our concern. We send our students to Morocco, to Spain, France, Iceland, and points elsewhere around the globe, preparing them for lives and careers in a rapidly shrinking world. While expanding their horizons in this way, we simultaneously serve the world's needs, the world that is hungry for the types of solutions that we imagine, hungry for the types of broad-minded leaders our students will become. When we share our cutting-edge approach to interprofessional education at national conferences, espousing the virtues of interdisciplinary practice in healthcare and healthcare education, or when we bring to one of our campuses an international authority on the Arab-Israeli conflict to discuss how peace might yet be attainable in the Middle East, we are making the entire planet our concern. So here we find ourselves subscribing to this ambitious mission, afloat in our ready vessel. And now we must ask ourselves, where do we want to take our ship? Where do we need to take it? And how do we get there? How might this ship be improved for its journey given what we have experienced already? And how might we ensure that our ship remains seaworthy in the face of uncertain and often treacherous waters that lie before it? You have chosen me to set our course and guide our ship, and although I have some clear ideas about those seas that lie ahead and how we should tack them, I want you to know that I intend to consider all of your perspectives as we move forward together. I've spent the past 2 months meeting with as many of you as possible, learning more about your individual roles in making UNE the special institution that it is, and learning how you believe UNE can better achieve its mission. And I intend to spend more time in this listening and learning tour. Consider it my own little journey around the deck and quarters of our ship. All of your voices are guiding me, along with the Board of Trustees and my leadership team, as we draft our new strategic plan. By collaborating, we will best achieve our collective mission. I do, of course, have some rather concrete ideas about our rapidly changing world, our world that is being revolutionized day by day, minute by minute, by technological innovation, automation, and other forces that are currently destabilizing so many of our social, political, and cultural institutions. And I have some ideas about what UNE must do in order to prosper amidst this challenging climate. The world is changing, and its needs are changing. Look at how we work and play, and consider how quickly these changes are occurring. Consider that the day only 11 years ago, when the mantle of the UNE presidency was last passed from one person to the next, from Sandra to Danielle, the iPhone was still a year away from being introduced to the market. MySpace was shrugging off the threat posed by some upstart social networking site called the Facebook. There was no such thing as streaming Netflix. There was no Uber. There was no self-driving cars. There was no iPad. There wasn't even a Keurig K-Cup. Back then, Amazon sold only books, and actually not that many books. Amazon was working on something called a Kindle, which would not come out for more than a year after Danielle took office. So at a pace never seen before in human history, we have been inventing new technologies and assimilating them into our daily lives. We have been adapting and evolving as individuals and as members of larger social structures. Higher education has been and is being disrupted. And why shouldn't it be? Every other facet of how we live, communicate, and learn has been. Why should our domain be immune? Institutions of higher education have been notoriously slow to change. Fortunately, this has not been so much the case at UNE, where we've been far more nimble than most of our peers in the face of these developments. As a result, we've seen our stock and reputation grow in myriad ways. Generally speaking, though, higher education has spent the last decade just scrambling to keep up. We must do better. To remain relevant and to prosper in the face of this ongoing revolution, universities must acknowledge and address head-on the changes that are occurring. We must evolve along with the world, and we must confront a variety of interrelated challenges. One challenge that is not going to subside anytime soon is the shift in demographics in our country, and especially in our state. As a country, the United States is growing older, and this is particularly acute here in Maine. As our population ages, the pool of prospective high school graduates from which we recruit students continues to shrink. To remain vibrant, institutions of higher education must cast our nets more broadly, welcoming more students from diverse backgrounds. We must attract more first-generation college students, students like I was more years than I care to remember when I first myself stepped foot on a college campus. Institutions must not only attract these students, we must support them and position them to succeed. We must meet their needs academically and socially as they make the transition to college life and beyond. Fortunately, UNE's entrepreneurial spirit is an inclusive one. We have a proud history of making education accessible to members of marginalized groups. In the 1800s, our charter institution, Westbrook College, was welcoming women to its classrooms when the doors of higher education were closed to them. Likewise, Westbrook College admitted African Americans and other minority groups when slavery still existed south of the Mason-Dixon line. Here in Biddeford, the high school that would become St. Francis College and later UNE welcomed the children of Franco-American immigrants who worked long hours in the nearby mills. These were first-generation students, many of whom spoke exclusively French at home. Here on our Biddeford campus, they gained the knowledge and skills to lead successful, meaningful lives. To this day, we attract many first-generation students, and we attract many students from diverse backgrounds. But we can and we must do better. Another challenge we face as a higher education community lies in the tension between ensuring that traditionally marginalized groups feel welcome on our campuses and that they have a strong voice, while also maintaining the Academy's steadfast commitment to free speech and robust debate. We must not stifle those whose opinions run counter to current social norms or prevailing codes of political correctness. We must ensure that the Academy plays its vital, time-tested role as the ultimate marketplace of ideas. Our campuses must be places where bad ideas are not censored, but are instead countered with better ideas. At the same time, we must strive to ensure that the loudest voices do not deprive platforms to others, and particularly to those students taking their first uncertain steps into a world previously closed off to them. Indeed, now more than ever, we need exposure to thoughtful, dissenting perspectives. The loudest, shrillest voices these days speak from predictable, orthodox positions staked out at the far ends of ideological spectrum. As our media becomes more polarized and our news feeds become self-created bubbles that admit only those perspectives with which we already agree, we must make room for and indeed encourage those from outside our self-selected camps to voice their opinions, and in so doing, to complicate our thinking. We must become free thinkers who resist the tendency of our society's evolving communication modes to simplify and to unify our thinking. And even more challengingly, we must encourage our students who've never known the world without a news feed and who have come to age tailoring their communications to 142 characters or less, to become free and critical thinkers, to become deep thinkers. At the same time that we aspire to achieve these high ideals, we must ensure that our programs have demonstrable, practical value to our students. With each freshman class we recruit, return on investment becomes a bigger and bigger consideration in the decision-making of students and their parents. Fortunately, UNE does a good job of continuously reinventing itself, of developing new programs and redesigning existing ones to meet current and future workforce needs. But as the pace of change accelerates and as its impact becomes less predictable, the ability to align educational programs with market needs becomes more challenging. The increased scrutiny of higher education's value proposition is not going to diminish. It is going to intensify. And it's going to do so at a time when automation and globalization fundamentally reshape or even eliminate many of the familiar workplaces we currently take for granted as reliable settings where our graduates find good-paying jobs that enable them to lead rewarding, meaningful lives. As our reliance on technology increases Our workforce and economy will continue to change radically. Entire disciplines will struggle to remain relevant and will either evolve to play new roles in the landscape created by this third industrial revolution, or will wither beneath the cold glare of technology's indifferent gaze to become anachronisms of a dying world. Although it may not be obvious at first, I believe that deep engagement with the liberal arts, with the study of history, philosophy, literature, political theory, art, and related domains, will become even more critical as we navigate this new era. In addition to their intrinsic value in enriching our lives, the liberal arts inculcate habits of mind, such as the value of transdisciplinary thinking, of healthy skepticism, intellectual curiosity and humility, problem solving in the face of the unknown, and lifelong learning, habits of mind that certainly will become even more vital to personal success and effective civic engagement. We must find ways to ensure that our students benefit from the deep thinking, the critical thinking that is at the heart of the liberal arts. And we must do this in a way that embraces new technologies rather than standing in futile, quixotic resistance against them. So, these are the challenges. These are the winds that churn the waters, that rock our boat, and will continue to rock it increasingly in the years ahead. These exponentially accelerating developments are the growing storm being blown across the bow of our ship. We can view these gales as daunting challenges. We can accept that not only UNE, but all institutions of higher education will be shaken by the destabilizing, recalibrating, leveling gusts of this tempest. Or we can choose to think differently about these winds and to think differently about the resulting choppy waters. A poet whose identity remains anonymous once wrote, "A smooth sea never made a skillful mariner. Neither do uninterrupted prosperity and success qualify for usefulness and happiness. The storms of adversity, like those of the ocean, rouse the faculties and excite the invention, prudence, skill, and fortitude of the voyager." The larger world of higher education may or may not choose to view this storm as an opportunity, but at UNE we can, and together we will. I firmly believe that UNE is well poised to play a leadership role in the world of higher education in the decade ahead. We are a community that stands on a foundation of a strong core set of values. We know who we are. We know what we want to be. We have a firm identity. We are entrepreneurial of spirit. We look into the future facing squarely whatever headwinds may blow our way and anticipating coming realities in order to adjust our course and remain one step ahead of them. I believe that our deep expertise in the natural and applied sciences will serve us well in the years ahead, as will our eagerness to cross disciplinary bounds to collaborate with others, both within and beyond our community. Our unwavering commitment to the social sciences and humanities will be vital. The light they shed on the human condition will be critical to our self-understanding and, by extension, to the sense of well-being as we continue to evolve. Facing these challenges will require teamwork. This is another reason I know UNE is well positioned to succeed. Since my arrival, I have been struck repeatedly by just how helpful and selfless this community is. We are a family deeply focused on the central reason for our existence, the education of our students. Our students will carry forth the knowledge and values they gain here, and they will make very real contributions to the disciplines we hold dear. As he concludes his poem, Longfellow's words reflect our own steadfast commitment to face, with unflinching resolve, whatever headwinds may arise. Sail forth into the sea, O ship, through wind and wave right onward steer. The moistened eye, the trembling lip are not the signs of doubt or fear. Sail forth into the sea of life, O gentle, loving, trusting wife, and safe from all adversity upon the bosom of that sea, thy comings and thy goings be. For gentleness and love and trust prevail o'er angry wave and gust, and in the wreck of noble lives, something immortal still survives. I am deeply honored and deeply humbled to stand with you today together as we face the next chapter in the life of this great university. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, President Herbert, for your stirring words. I know that everybody here joins me in looking forward to your leadership and also to a lot of hard work. You set the bar high, James. And now, for the enjoyment of the UNE community, I would like to introduce Joanne Smith, member of our professional staff in the Westbrook College of Health Professions, who will perform a song in celebration of this occasion.
I see trees of green and red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful the colors of the rainbow are so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? Crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne. We will now bring this inauguration ceremony to a close. For our guests in the audience, we would ask you to please remain standing in place until the academic procession has left the area. One final thing, I would be remiss if I didn't say something about our human family in Florida and in Houston and what they're going through right now. So please keep them in your thoughts, and please send them some money. Thank you. To our new president, we congratulate you and wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And here comes the bagpipes. I guess we're all going to leave. I now declare the inauguration ceremony closed and ask the platform party to follow our new president, preceded by the mace bearer.